Adrian Blake was a man whose name was synonymous with success. From the glass towers of downtown to the luxury estates that dotted the city's hills, his empire was a monument to relentless ambition. Yet, for all the skyscrapers he had built and fortunes he had multiplied, there was one thing he could not buy: his daughter's ability to walk. 5-year-old Lily was the light of his life, born with a rare condition that doctors said would confine her to a wheelchair forever. Since her birth, Adrian had spared no expense, hiring the most renowned specialists, importing state-of-the-art therapy machines, even flying her across the globe for experimental treatments. But despite years of effort, the result was always the same: Lily remained in her chair, her tiny legs still and fragile. Life inside the Blake mansion was beautiful but strangely quiet, the halls echoing with wealth but lacking warmth. Lily's laughter was a rare sound, replaced mostly by the beeps of medical equipment and the voices of therapists guiding her through repetitive exercises. Adrian loved his daughter with an intensity that frightened him, but he expressed it through gifts, grand, expensive toys that filled her playroom yet never seemed to light up her eyes. He told himself that working long hours was for her future, that the endless business trips were necessary to provide her with the best life possible. One rainy afternoon, after a meeting abroad was abruptly cancelled, Adrian returned home earlier than expected. As he stepped through the grand foyer, he noticed something unusual: laughter. Not the polite giggles she sometimes gave to please her therapists, but a bright, bubbling sound that seemed to dance through the air. Drawn to it, he followed the sound down the marble hallway and into the garden. There, in the drizzle, he froze. Lily was standing, actually standing, on her tiny feet, her arms stretched toward a young woman he barely recognized as the new nanny, Clara. She was kneeling a few feet away, her hands open, encouraging Lily to take a step. And then, impossibly, Lily moved, one unsteady step, then another, her little face glowing with joy. Adrian's breath caught, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. After years of trying everything money could buy, it was this simple, unorthodox moment that had achieved the impossible. The next morning, Adrian found himself pacing the kitchen, waiting for Clara to appear. When she finally walked in, carrying a tray of breakfast for Lily, he wasted no time. "How did you do that yesterday?" "She's never walked before," he asked, his tone a mixture of disbelief and urgency. Clara paused, meeting his gaze with quiet confidence. "I didn't do it," she said simply. "Lily did. I just believed she could." Adrian frowned, dismissing her words as romantic nonsense, but something about the calm certainty in her voice unsettled him. He had heard countless medical experts speak in terms of charts, probabilities, and limitations, yet Clara's statement was different, rooted not in data, but in faith. Over the next few days, Adrian's curiosity got the better of him. He began adjusting his schedule so he could return home earlier, slipping unnoticed into the upstairs balcony that overlooked the garden. From there, he observed Clara's unconventional methods. There were no sterile exercise routines or strict commands. Instead, Clara transformed walking practice into an adventure. She placed colorful ribbons along the grass, turning each into a magic bridge Lily had to cross. Some days, she laid out plush toys as islands, encouraging Lily to step from one to the next. Other times, she pretended the garden was an ocean and Lily was a captain who needed to sail across to rescue a teddy bear. Every stumble was met with applause, every step celebrated like a victory parade. To Adrian's astonishment, Lily's movements became surer, her steps less hesitant. He saw something else, too, her face, alight with joy and determination, a stark contrast to the frustration he had seen during formal therapy. One afternoon, hidden in the shadows, he heard Lily whisper to Clara, "I can walk because you hold my heart." The words hit Adrian harder than he expected, stirring something deep within him. For years, he had surrounded his daughter with the best the world could offer, yet it was this young woman, without advanced degrees or cutting-edge equipment, who had unlocked her spirit. That night, lying in his expansive, empty bedroom, Adrian realized the truth he had been avoiding. Perhaps the problem had never been Lily's body, it was the absence of belief, of connection, of someone willing to see beyond her limitations. And for the first time in years, he began to wonder if money had blinded him to what really mattered. Adrian's admiration for Clara's dedication grew each day, though he tried to convince himself it was purely gratitude. Still, he couldn't ignore the way her presence seemed to change the atmosphere of the mansion. There was more laughter, more light, and Lily's progress was undeniable. Yet, beneath the surface, Adrian wrestled with an uncomfortable truth: he had been an absent father in all the ways that mattered. He had been present at doctor's appointments but absent from the moments that shaped his daughter's spirit. That truth came crashing down one stormy night. It was past midnight when Lily's cries echoed down the hallway. Adrian rushed to her room, only to find her clinging to Clara, sobbing from a nightmare. He reached for her, but Lily shook her head and buried her face in the nanny's shoulder. "It's okay, sweetheart. Daddy's here," Adrian tried, but she wouldn't let go. Hurt and confused, he lashed out at the only other adult in the room. "You're crossing a line," he snapped at Clara. "She's my daughter, not yours." Clara's expression hardened, but her voice remained calm. "Then start acting like it," she said, each word deliberate. Adrian froze, stunned by the quiet challenge in her tone. Clara didn't stop there. "She doesn't need another expensive toy or a machine that makes you feel like you're helping. She needs you, your time, your patience, your belief." The truth in her words was like a blade, cutting through the walls he had built around himself. For hours after she left the room, Adrian sat awake, staring out at the rain. He thought of every missed bedtime story, every moment he had chosen a meeting over an afternoon with Lily, convincing himself it was for her future. But Clara was right: what good was a future without a father in it? The next morning, Adrian found Clara and Lily in the garden. Clara was holding Lily's hand as she took slow, steady steps toward a small pile of flowers. Without hesitation, Adrian walked over and took Lily's other hand. She looked up at him, surprised, but didn't pull away. Together, they guided her forward, her steps more confident than ever before. In that moment, something shifted, not just in Lily's stride, but in Adrian's heart. For the first time, he wasn't just watching her walk. He was walking with her. The weeks that followed were nothing short of miraculous. Lily's steps became stronger, her balance steadier, and her laughter more frequent. Doctors who had once spoken only in cautious tones now admitted they had never seen progress like this. Adrian's own life transformed alongside hers. He began rescheduling business meetings, delegating more responsibilities, and carving out time every morning to walk with his daughter. The mansion no longer felt like a silent monument to wealth, it began to feel like a home. Clara's role remained vital, but now Adrian was part of the magic too. He learned the games she created, the silly voices she used, and the patience it took to celebrate small victories. And through it all, he found himself smiling more than he had in years. One warm afternoon, Adrian planned something special. In the garden, he laid a winding trail of rose petals that led to a brand new swing set he'd installed while Lily napped. Clara stood at the starting point with Lily, while Adrian waited at the other end, his heart pounding. "Ready, sweetheart," he called. Lily nodded, determination lighting up her eyes. Slowly, step by careful step, she walked the entire path, alone. When she reached him, she threw her arms around his neck, squealing, "I did it, Daddy." Adrian's throat tightened, his eyes stinging with emotion. Clara joined them, her smile radiant, though there was a hint of something softer in her gaze, pride, perhaps, or the quiet satisfaction of someone who had given her all without expecting anything in return. Adrian turned to her, his voice low but steady. "You didn't just teach her to walk, Clara," he said. "You taught me how to be a father." The words hung in the air, more powerful than any business deal he had ever sealed. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the three of them sat together on the new swing set, Lily in the middle, holding both their hands. The breeze was gentle, carrying the sound of her giggles into the fading light. For the first time in years, Adrian felt a peace he didn't know he'd been missing. Lily's steps might still be small, but her world, and theirs, had opened wide. The journey ahead would not be easy, but as Adrian looked at his daughter's smiling face and Clara's warm eyes, he knew one thing for certain: they would walk it together.